Good morning, this is your Math Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is 2024 STAAR test, and it will be problems 22 through 30. So it says graph the line. That's a key word because we know it's going to be a straight line that we're graphing by the equation 2x plus 3y equals 6. Now I'm going to approach this problem from two ways. There's probably more ways than that, but I'm going to look at it two different ways. First off, whenever they say line, I always think y equals mx plus b, which means I need to get the y by itself. So I'm going to rewrite this and I'm going to solve for y. So 2x plus 3y equals 6. I need to get the y by itself, which means I need to move the 2x to the other side. Well, this is a positive 2x, so I have to do the opposite, which means I need to do a minus 2x. Well, this side goes away and it just goes and it becomes 0. And now I have 3y equals negative 2x plus 6 because those won't combine because the x's won't combine with the numbers. Now I need to divide both sides by 3. And I'm doing that because they're side by side and that's the way you separate them. So now y is by itself and I have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. Well, this is y equals mx plus b. M is my slope. And remember, m in this case is negative 2/3, which is the y's over the x's. And b is my y-intercept. So that b is 2 is actually a 0, comma 2, where this is my x and this is my y, and I can plot that point. So that goes there. So that's my b. And then negative 2 means I'm going down 2, 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3. And I have 2 points. And if I had a straight edge, I could go ahead and connect those 2 points. And by the way, that's what will happen on your test is you'll plot the 2 points and a line will, and you'll be able to form a line with that. So there we go. That's one way. The other way is since it's in standard form, we can plug in zeros. And we're going to plug in a 0 for the x and a 0 for the y. First, we'll do the x, 0 for the x. So if I plug in a 0 for the x, this will be 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 6. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, so this went away. So now I have 3y equals 6. I divide both sides by 3, and I found out that y equals 2. Well, guess what? There's my point. I plotted it at 2. Now, because this is in standard form, I can go ahead and plug in a 0 for the y. So I have 2x plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to plug in a 0 for the y, and now I have 2x plus 3 parenthesis 0 equals 6. Well, 3 times 0, this just goes away because that becomes 0. So now I have 2x equals 6. I divide by 2, and I get x equals 3, which is this point right here. So I end up getting the same points either way. You choose. I like to do it this way, but a lot of students prefer this way. Either way is great. They both give you the right answer. So you can either plug in zeros for x, solve, then 0 for y and solve, or you can put it in slope-intercept form. Either one is great. Okay. Oh, and one other thing. We have a negative slope. Don't forget about slope man. Slope man says, hey, if it's a negative slope, it's sloping down. Positive slope is sloping up. Vertical line has an undefined slope, and that's an x equal. Horizontal line has the 0 slopes, and it's a y equals. Okay, a swimming pool can be rented for $110 per hour. The pool can be rented for either 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, so I can only rent it for 1 hour or 2 hours. So either one or two. The cost in dollars to rent the pool is a function of the number of hours. Okay, so F of H function of hours equals the cost. So they're saying, hey, this is basically my X. And what is the domain? Well, domain is the X's and this is the Y. Well, if hours is my H's, that's my hours. How many hours can I rent it for? And we just said hours are my domain. I can rent it for either 1 hour or 2 hours. So this is my domain because this is the hours. Okay. Well, that gets rid of this one. It gets rid of this one. And we also get rid of this one. Now, let's figure out how they got that. Well, if it's $110 for 1 hour, if I multiply 110 times 1, I get 110. But if I rent it for 2 hours, it's going to be 220. And that's how we get that. So the answer to 23 is B. Okay, number 24. What value of m makes the equations 2/3 m minus 9 equals 1/3 m minus, and by the way, this is wrong. This should be a 27. Okay, true. Well, when I see this problem, this is a Desmos problem. So I'm going to change this and I'm going to go 2/3 parenthesis n minus 9 equals 1/3 n minus 27, except for it won't take the equal sign. I have to use a squiggle. All right. So I'm going to switch over to Desmos and we're going to see if we can't solve this problem. So 2/3 and parenthesis n minus 9. There we go. The squiggle, we use the equal signs, it won't work. 1/3. And then we have n minus 27. And we got n equals -9. Well, that's nice because that shows up to be as one of our answers. So now that we have that n is -9, I'm going to stop the share. N is -9. My answer is A. Moving on to number 25. 25. A graph of a quadratic function is shown on the grid. Complete the statement about the quadratic function. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the quadratic function. There's a lot of things I want to talk about because I want to make sure we learn all of the parts of the quadratic. There's a line that cuts this in half. That line that cuts it in half will always be written as x equals -1, and that line is called the line of symmetry. So x equals -1, and it passes through -1. That's how we got that equation. Then we have this point right here. This point right here is known as the vertex. And in this case, our vertex is at -1, comma, -4. Remember, x comes before y. So -1, comma 4. And notice this and this actually match. Those match. Now, if we have a graph shaped like this, it's a max. If the graph is shaped like this, it's a min. In this case, this is the lowest point, so it's a minimum. And the minimum is talking about the y value, so our minimum value is -4. So that's our minimum value. Then we have a couple other points we need to talk about. And those other points are -3, 0, and 1, 0, x and y. And these can be called our roots, our zeros, our x-intercepts, and sometimes referred to our solutions. All of those are common phrases. Now, the reason they call it the x-intercept is because if I draw a line through the x-axis or on the x-axis, guess what? That's where it hits. Okay? Another term that's related but not the same is the factors. Okay, so in this case, we know we have a minimum. The function has a minimum. I'm just going to write min right there. And what is my minimum value? Oh, my minimum value happens to be -4. There it is. Done with that problem. It was all that simple, but I still want you need to know all those vocabulary words. Number 26. Hot dogs and bags of popcorns were sold at a concession stand. One family paid $8 for 2 hot dogs and 3 bags of popcorn. So I'm going to go ahead and write an equation. I'm going to use H for hot dogs and P for popcorn. So 2 hot dogs plus 3 popcorn, and they spent a total of $8. All right. And then another family paid $16.50 for 5 hot dogs and 4 bags of popcorn. 5 hot dogs plus 4 popcorn equals $16.50. Which system of equations can be used to determine the price in dollars of a hot dog, which they're going to call X? Oh, so they're going to make this an X. So I'm going to rewrite this. Everywhere I have an H, I need to make it an X. So this is 2X and this will be 5X because they said hot dog is an X and the price in dollars of a bag of popcorn is Y. So popcorn is Y. So everywhere I have a P, I need to use a Y. 2X plus 3Y, 4Y. Everything else remains the same. And let's see if we can't find that answer choice. So the first one, 2X plus 3Y. No, we have a 5X plus 4Y, but this is supposed to be 1650. That's an 8. This is wrong. 2X plus 3Y equals 8. 5X plus 4Y equals 1650. That's my answer to answer number 26 is B. Moving on to number 27. An exponential function. Okay, key phrase, exponential function. As soon as they say exponential, I go look at my formula chart and I go y equals a parenthesis b raised to the x power. I say this every time we do one of this. A is the start or y-intercept, and b equals, if b is greater than 1, we have growth. If we have growth, it's going up. If b is less than 1, we have decay, and it's going down. So the y-intercept is 2. Oh, so they're telling me right away that a is 2. So y equals 2. We know a is 2. So I need to go, oh, is this a 2? The answer is no. So it can't be that. Is that a 2? Yes. So that's possible. Is this a 2? No, can't be that. Is this a 2? Yes, it is. So both of these have the 2, so that's good. So that part we've taken care of. We've gotten rid of A and we've gotten rid of B. The graph of the function increase. Hey, there's another key word. So we have the y-intercept is 2 and it increases. If it's increasing, that means it's going up. Well, this one's going down, so it's not this one. The one that's going up is C. Answer choice is C. Now, one thing I want to say is anytime I give you percent divided by 100, so if I wanted to write this equation, I'd go, well, what's 50 divided by 100? And I'd get 0.50. So that's my B. I always have to add 1 to it. So this will be y equals 2, because that's my y-intercept. I'm going to add 1 to this, 1 plus 0.5 raised to the x. So y equals 2 parentheses 1.5 to the x power. Okay? All right. And we already said the answer to 27 is C. Moving on to 28. Which equation best represents the point slope form of the line that passes through the point W and is parallel to line P. Okay, so a couple things. There's several different ways to do this, but first off, it has to pass through this point, and it needs to be in point slope form, and we'll talk, you know what, let's go ahead and do that now. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, and it has to be parallel. And remember, parallel means same slope. So we have to have the same slope. So we can start off with a bunch of different things. I'm going to go ahead and go, you know what? What is the slope of this line? Well, if the slope of the line, I just need to find two places where it crosses perfectly. And I'm going to choose this point and this point. And by the way, I know my slope is positive. The very fact that it's going up, and let's think about the angry man. And remember, negative slope is going down, positive slope is going up. Vertical line is undefined slope, it's x equal. Horizontal line is zero, has a slope of zero, and it means it's y equals. Now in this case, it's going up, so we have a positive slope. Well, that's good news because this has a negative slope, it's gone. This has a negative slope, it's gone. It has to be one of these two. So at this point, I could count. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 4. And remember, slope is y over the x. So we went up 4 and we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4/5. So at this point, we know it has to be this equation. Now remember, when we plug the values into the equation, it's a liar. So we know that this is 4/5. We know that this is just a y. We know this is just an x, but we need to figure that value. Well, what's the point? What is w? Well, w has the ordered pair 1, 5. But when we plug into this equation, they become liars. So this is w minus 1 and y minus 5. So once again, we see our answers, but all of them had the -5 and the -1. That's where that came from. Okay, so that right there happens to be our equation. Now, let's go ahead and go to Desmos to make sure that it passes through this point. So I'm going to move over to Desmos and I'm going to plug this in to see if that works. And then I'm going to show you one other way to approach this problem. Okay, so it has to pass through the point W, and the point W we said was parentheses 1, 5. I'm going to go ahead and label that point because it's got to pass through it. Now, we came up with y minus 5. Oops. We came up with y minus 5 equals 4/5 because we're about to run into a problem. We're about to run into a problem here. Equals 4/5 x minus 1. And it won't graph it. Why? Because this 5 is on the wrong side. But to move it to the other side, all I have to do is go, well, move it to the other side, and I'm going to stop my share for just a second. Move it to the other side, I just need to add 5 to both sides. If I do that, this goes away, and I have y equals 4/5 x minus 1 plus 5. That it'll graph. So in other words, if I adjusted all my equations so they look like this, it would graph them all and I could see if they fit through the point. So I'm going to go back to my share and see if that'll actually give us the answer. Make sure that we have it right. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So this means I have to put the plus 5 right here. And sure enough, I have the line that passes through those 2 points. Okay? All right, so our answer choice for number 28 is B. 29. F of x equals x squared and g of x equals f of x plus 7, 2. What is the vertex of graph G? Okay, tricky problem. Not hard. This is one you got to know. Y equals x squared. And they're telling us, oh, we're changing it. All they're saying is we're changing it from this to this. All we have to do is go, oh, this was supposed to be, remember, f of x equals x squared. So basically, wherever I have something that looks like f of x, I have to square it. So I just need to put a squared sign there. So really, g of x equals x plus 7.2 squared, because all I had to do is take this squared and put it up there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to do it on Desmos. And when they ask for the vertex will either be this point, or if it's shaped this way, it'll be this point. So we're looking for that point where it changes directions, either up or down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in x plus 7.2 squared and see what happens into Desmos. So parentheses, x plus 7.2, and hit the typewriter and the squared. And we end up with negative 7.20. That's our vertex. That happens to be our minimum. So we have a minimum like this, because this would be a minimum. That's our vertex. And we have negative 7.2 and 0. Our answer choice 29 is B. Number 30. The altitude of an airplane is changing at a constant rate. Okay. When they talk about that, they're talking about our slope. The table shows the linear relationship. Oh, so we have a line. So we're going to want something written into y equals mx plus b. And they gave me a table. And every time they give me a table, I'm going to plug it into Desmos. And they're telling me, hey, I need a line. So let's see what we can do and see if we can't answer this question. We're going to enter that data into the table now. Hit the plus sign, table, and we have 1.5, 3.25, and 6. The other number we have, 25,500. Don't put the commas in. Desmos doesn't like it. Okay, once we have that, we're going to go here where it says, and the domino button where it says add regression, and we get our equation. Y equals negative 3,000x plus 30,000. Okay, so, and if I zoom out a long, long, long ways, I think it'll graph it. It did graph it, but it's really hard to see what it's doing. Okay? But it did graph it. So I'm going to stop this share. And this is our equation. Well, my slope is m equals negative 3,000. That means it's going, not without the x. That means it's going down. The altitude of the plane is decreasing because the slope is down at a rate of, well, when it asks for the rate, they're asking for the slope. So this is the direction of the slope. It's negative, and it's decrease going down at a rate of 3,000. Okay. All right. I hope this helped. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, and thanks for watching.